The radio wasn't plugged in, but it breathed like a sleeping animal. I woke at 2:13 a.m. to a clean knife slice of static, the kind that cuts through sleep and lands under your ribs. 1 second I was dreaming, the next my room was awake with an old green glow that shouldn't exist anymore. I thought I was still dreaming until I saw the reflection, the garage door window throwing a ghost of that glow across the hallway wall. Emma. It wasn't possible. My dad had been dead for 5 years, and yet I knew the weight of that single word like a fingerprint. His voice on 103.6, the station that went off air before I was born, rolled through the house in a low, careful hush. Don't open the door. I sat upright so fast my neck popped. The house listened with me. The digital clock kept burning 2:13, like a warning flare. I slid my feet to the floor, felt the night-cooled wood, and crossed the hallway barefoot, phone light off because the voice made light feel like bait. The garage door was a rectangle of darker dark. That was normal, the faint green glow behind it. Not normal. Dad? I whispered, and immediately hated how small I sounded. The static thickened, then parted. It's outside the walls tonight. He always spoke like that, back when he was alive. Half metaphor, half instruction. I used to think he meant bills or grief or the unfinished workbench projects he never finished. Something scraped along the siding, not a rat, not a branch. A long, deliberate drag like someone testing how much noise would make me flinch. The radio dial clicked itself, an invisible hand turning a wheel, and the needle stopped on 103.6. That frequency had been our weekend soundtrack. Car oil and coffee, him humming along while the host told ghost story callers they were imagining things. The station died in a fire, Dad once said. The tower went black, the feed turned to silence, and the owner moved away. That was local legend. That was history. That was 30 years ago. Emma, do not open the door, my father's voice again, urgent now, breathy like he was calling from a dark closet. Another scrape, closer. The streetlight beyond the frosted window began to flicker like a throat clearing. Between flickers I saw a shape on the glass, too tall to be a man, too narrow at the wrong places, head tilted like it was listening back. The bulb stuttered, then blew. The house fell into a heavier dark. The radio, gentle as a match striking, said, "If it knocks, you don't answer. If it uses my voice, you don't answer. If it uses yours." 3 soft knocks, knuckles of wet wood. I swallowed and tasted metal. What if it's already inside? I whispered. The radio answered with a sound I never heard from it when Dad was alive. It exhaled. "Then you go up," it said, now. The attic cord hung over the hallway like a noose. I stared at it and felt the first cold fingertip of fear trace my ankle, as if the house itself had decided to touch me back. The radio crackled, harsher. "Emma, up!" Behind the door, something smiled. I didn't see it. I felt it, the way you feel a grin in the dark. And then the 4th knock came from inside the garage. From the ceiling. Above me. I yanked the cord. The attic ladder unfolded with a split, arthritic creak that sounded too loud, like I'd just announced my location to a thing that hunted by sound. My phone screen stayed black in my sweaty hand. No light, no bait. As I climbed, the garage below breathed out a heavy, humid fog, like lake air in a closed room. The house shouldn't do that. Houses don't sigh. But the air thickened with that damp, mossy smell old radios carry. Dust, hot metal, a whisper of ozone. "Keep moving," Dad said, and for a breath I was 12 again, balancing on the fence while he steadied my ankle with sawdust hands. "Don't look down." I looked down. The garage door's frosted glass pulsed with slow shadow, a smear, a taper. A head, turning sideways to fit a shape through that shouldn't have fit anywhere. It folded like smoke. It unfolded like a hand. I pulled the ladder up after me and flattened it against the ceiling opening, feet hooked, heart in my mouth. The opening went dark as if something had stepped beneath it. The attic swallowed me with the woolen silence of insulation and timber. My eyes adjusted. Shapes emerged. Boxes labeled in my dad's blocky letters, a covered trunk, the silhouette of a child's rocking horse I'd never seen in our home. And in the far corner, a twin to the garage radio, same model, same scar on the bakelite casing, a cigarette burn in the shape of a comet tail. Dad had quit smoking when I was 6, still, his ghosts came labeled. It clicked on without a cord. The glow was sickly green, a hospital nightlight. "Finally," said a voice that wore my father's coat but wasn't him. Deeper, a bad impression. "You never were good at rules." To hell with that. My throat was sand. Where's my dad? Silence, the kind that has teeth. Then, softer, the real voice slid in behind the fake, like a second station bleeding through. "Shortwave's dirty tonight, Em. It's riding me. Listen, you know the rule." "What rule?" "The one I never told you because we never needed it." A humorless laugh, cut off. "If it knocks 4 times, it isn't asking to come in. It's counting." "Counting what?" my pulse answered. 1 thud, 2 thud. Below the hatch something clambered up drywall like a spider in a suit. The house shivered. Nails whispered inside studs. I crawled toward the radio as if it were a hearth. "Why the attic?" I asked, breath fogging in the weird cold. "Because it can't swim." I blinked. "Swim?" The boards a few feet from me darkened, then sagged. The scent hit first. Lake water and penny iron. A black wetness oozed between planks, blooming like a stain with gravity reversed. I edged back fast. The rocking horse flicked in a draft that wasn't there. "Dad." "Listen," he cut in, gentle. "When the station died, not everything on it did. Some of it found gutters, pipes, wires. It learned rooms. On wet nights, the house carries it. On dry nights, your bones do. Hear me? There's only one way out when it's riding the walls." The not dad voice returned like a shadow stepping into my mouth. "Jump, little fish." "Don't let it finish a sentence," Dad snapped, bright and urgent. "It needs endings." "How do I?" The attic's far wall inhaled, not air, space. The boards stretched toward me as if a lung were inside the house, taking its first breath in years. A seam split, long fingers uncurling through it, knuckles bending wrong, nails like radio aerials. "Emma," 2 voices said at once. My father and me, "Run." I ran, and the attic ran with me, boards folding, corners lengthening like a hallway in a dream that never reaches the door you need. Behind me the black water lapped. And counted. 3. 4. I tripped on a box and landed palms. First in a snowdrift of photographs. The old kind, glossy, with the dates stamped in red. They skittered under my hands like thin fish, flipping to reveal birthday cakes, beach towels, Dad's faded baseball cap, Mom's smile before the leaving. Normal, 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 until it wasn't. In each photo, just at the edge where your eye rests before you flip to the next, a tall smear of dark leaned into the frame, far back by the tree line at the lake, reflected in the sliding glass door behind the Thanksgiving table, standing in the radio store window the day Dad bought the old set. The smear had shoulders sometimes it had a head bent a little too far, as if it were learning the shape of us. My heartbeat climbed the walls of my throat. "You knew," I said to the radio. Static, cough. My father's voice bruised. "I hoped it was following me, not the house. I left the attic sealed, I left you rules. You were supposed to sell this place." I couldn't. I didn't add that I'd been living on boxes and coffee and late-shift paychecks, too stubborn to let go of the only place his voice still lived in the wood. The house was a memory palace that had decided it wanted me to be the memory. The not dad thing purred through the speaker. "She couldn't. It likes you better." The photos kept flipping. A series 1 didn't remember. Little me on the garage floor in a halo of tools. Dad was kneeling beside me, showing me how to line up a screw with a pilot hole. In the reflection on the metal toolbox, the smear was nearer. The radio dial in the background pointed to 103.6. "Emma," Dad said, too quiet. "If it speaks in your voice, it's learned your rhythm. It needs the last word to wear you." A nail popped from a joist like a champagne cork. From below, the garage floor answered back with a slosh. The house wasn't a house tonight. It was a dock. Okay, I whispered to no one and everyone. Okay, if it needs endings, I won't give it any. I stood. The ladder hatch was 5 body lengths away now. The attic had stretched, or I had shrunk. The stain of water had widened into a pool that reflected a ceiling that wasn't our ceiling, a sky of static, tiny lightning fireflies. Beneath that false sky, a line of pale shapes moved like swimmers holding their breath too long. The radio clicked. The not dad voice softened, my cadence exactly. You remember how you used to hum before bed? That little tune? My skin prickled. When I was 8, I hummed to keep nightmares from hooking into the quiet. I never did it in front of anyone. It hummed it perfectly. The attic leaned toward the sound. I saw the trap in the way the boards bent, and still a part of me wanted to curl into that remembered rhythm and go to sleep. To be held by a house that loved me, that's what it wanted me to believe. Tell me a story, it said in my voice, the one about Mom's yellow dress. Don't, Dad said, too late. Once upon I began, then shut my mouth so hard my teeth clicked. The itch for completion burned. I swallowed the ending and gave it nothing but breath. The thing hissed. The pool trembled. I took a step, then another, pacing the attic margin where the wood still held. A simple plan arrived in my head like a key I'd been carrying the whole time. If it needed me to finish, I would become a string of broken sentences, a life of commas, a girl of ellipses. Good, Dad said, relief raw. Get to the hatch. When it reaches for you, you jump. Jump where? Silence. Then, with regret like a weight, the only place in this house it can't remake. The pool should not have had a current. It did. It swirled gently toward the opening where the ladder used to fall, tugging at the air around my legs as if air could be tide water. A hand, too many knuckled, slid onto the floorboards in front of me. It patted the wood, learning weight, learning me. Finish the story, it said sweetly, as me. I smiled into the dark and said the ugliest, most unfinished thing I could think of, once upon, and ran. The attic hatch was farther than any hatch had a right to be. My legs burned, my breath ragged sawed the cold. The pool slopped over the boards with a sound like lips kissing wood. Behind me, a polite enthusiasm quickened, the patter of hands getting better at being hands. I didn't look back. I hit the opening, found only void where the ladder used to catch and thunk. Black air rose like steam. I smelled algae, iron, wet coin. Somewhere beneath the house, the lake we used to drive to on Sundays had come home. Not the water, exactly, but its memory, its shape, its hunger for depth. On 3, Dad said, voice thin through static. 1. The not dad laughed in harmony. 1. 2, Dad said. 2, it sang. I didn't wait for 3. I folded and dropped into the house's throat. The cold took me like a glove turning inside out. I fell through radio hum and nails and something that might have been voices praying but backwards. My feet hit water, real, immaculate cold, and the shock blew the breath out of me. I plunged. The dark was full of pale ribbons. They unrolled and brushed my arms, soft as moth wings, curious as fingers. I kicked, strong, remembering Dad's hand under my belly the first time he taught me to float. You don't fight the lake, he'd said. You agree with it and then you cheat. I cheated. I angled toward the shimmer that wasn't light so much as a memory of it. The attic opening reimagined as a surface. My lungs lit road flares of panic. I rose into a skin of water that became a skin of air that became the ceiling of my bedroom, and then I was on my mattress, coughing like a dog coughing up lake water, hands clawing sheet, heart galloping. 2:13 a.m. Again. The house settled around me with the lazy creaks of a structure cooling. The garage was silent. The radio, the real one, the garage one, was not in the garage, because the garage didn't exist tonight. My room smelled faintly of lake and old wires. I lay still and listened for the breathing I hoped I'd imagined. It came from above, wet, patient, the attic clearing its throat. My phone vibrated in my fist. A text appeared from a number that shouldn't be able to text. DAD. The preview line showed 3 words I had dreaded since the first knock. Don't believe Dawn. The message body arrived. It was longer, rambling, typed like he had gloves on. Shortwave piggyback. Only window is the loop. It resets at 2:13. Don't leave. Don't open. Don't give endings. If it says again, you... The typing dots stuttered. Stopped. The attic breathed in. The house said, not through a radio now, but through the drywall, through the joists, through the mattress coils under my spine, again. My clock held its green breath. The streetlight across the road flickered back to life with a bulb new brightness. Birds considered sunrise and vetoed it. Time waited for me to decide. If the loop was real, I had a grace the first time didn't. Knowledge, a rulebook. A warning that dawn was a costume, and the night wanted me to clap for its performance. If the loop was a trick, I'd be a woman huddled in a dark house, rehearsing her father's ghost to stay sane. Either way, the attic wanted me upstairs. It wanted me to finish something. I sat up. I didn't touch the cord. Instead, I spoke to the ceiling the way you talk to a child who wants you to look at a magic trick you've already seen. I'm not opening anything. The ceiling smiled. I couldn't hear it, but the house bent slightly toward me, the way dogs bend their heads when you say the word walk. Again, it coaxed, dripping. I stared at the clock until the numbers bled into a green bar and then into nothing. I waited. I didn't blink. I didn't give it a last word. I made coffee at 2:14 a.m. just to be petty. The house disliked appliances. The hum of the machine put a ripple in the drywall. The first sip burned my tongue, grounding me in a pain that felt blessedly stupid and human. Emma, Dad said from somewhere impossible. Not a device now, but my name pinched into shape by the corners of the room. Round 2 isn't the same. I figured. I cradled the mug and watched the hallway. The cord dangled, patient. What's different? It learns your shortcuts. So I need a new one. I swallowed too fast. The pain cleared my head again. Dad, if the only place it can't remake is... The water, he finished, weary. Because it already belongs to it. There's no room to pretend there. So I jump, I said, every time. The house laughed quietly, like beams settling. Every time, it repeated in my voice, sweet as a promise. Unless, Dad said, lower, urgent, you can teach it to drown. How do you drown a house? You don't, he said. You drown what's wearing it. The attic exhaled. The hatch sweat a line of black down its edge. The cord quivered, inviting as a finger. I could feel the loop coiling, the night drawing its bow for the same old song. If I obeyed, I survived to the next reset. If I disobeyed wrong, it finished a sentence with me inside it. The radio in the far room coughed itself awake. The voice that wasn't my father cleared its throat with affection. Em, you're tired. Don't you want to sleep? I'll tell you the end. I'll hold it for you. There it was, the ache for ending. It's a human ache. Stories want to close their eyes. We're trained to give them rest. I set the mug down. The plan made itself with a click I felt in my teeth, the way a good station falls into tune. If it needed endings, I would give it one it couldn't chew. I dragged the garden hose in through the back door. I turned it full blast in the